Well, good evening. Well, shit. Here we are. Welcome to Environmental Coffee House. It is exactly 1 year since the fascismo took office. And here we are. All right. Let me say good evening, get myself primed for the show. I've got a lot of stuff, and I'm only on YouTube tonight. I decided not to multi stream anywhere, just to stay here. I didn't want to go on X or even Facebook. So I'll say good evening, Kim and Looney and Alex, who is our newest moderator. And Kim is our chief cook and bottle washer moderator. And of course, there's Looney Tunes. And I just welcome you all. Hi, TR and Linda. Hello, Canada. Linda. I hope we don't have to close the borders. Oh my gosh. Hi Nina, another Canadian. Yay. And and Poppy, hi sweetheart. It's good to see you. It is. It is. It's Lisa and Jean. This is really very cool. Okay. All right. So my opening, if you paid attention to the intro, you know, I make videos and they're kind of reflective of how I feel or how we feel. Hi, Loie. Oh, that's great. Everybody's joining. And I've got a lot to show you tonight. And we're going to talk about the first year. We're going to talk about, well, basically, I wanted to, I made that the thumbnail, oh my God, just shut up. All of them. And we're gonna hear from a few of them, and we're gonna make some critiques. Hello, Jean. Um, we're gonna make some critiques and just really discuss what is happening, and then maybe talk about how we cope and how we deal with all of this because it is a lot of craziness. And oh, obsolete, all the mods are here tonight. Obsolete optics, I will drink a seltzer. To you. And good evening, Susan. So I had just found out 10 minutes before the show that my daughter smashed her winter car in Buffalo. And she said she spun and hit a guardrail, ended up on the other side of the 33, which is a pretty heavy little highway, a lot of traffic. And it's about 6 years to the day. She's not hurt, but she's just starting to feel a little sore, and I'm hoping she's not hurt. But it's like 6 years to the day that I did the same thing and smashed my vehicle in the back roads. But it wasn't totaled. I was shocked it got fixed. Hers was just a winter beater. I mean, she's okay. But I hope she's okay. She says she's okay in the family chat. But it's interesting because last week when the bad weather was happening in Buffalo, and I had said to her, is there any way, you'd have to not go to work if it's really bad? They've gotten like 10 to 12 inches or more than that. It's Buffalo, right? But this is what she says to me. Mom, I've been driving in this. I'm 37 years old, mom, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, but mothers can worry. Mothers worry. And so obviously I must have worried for a reason and it should happen. So she's already talked to my mom. My family's very close and I'm sure she'll be all right. I told her, call me. But it sucks because, yeah, everybody, when you live in a place like I do, like we do, I don't have two cars. I mean, she has her winter beater. And I used to have two vehicles. I used to drive a piece of shit to work and back in the winter time. It was a four-wheel drive. And, I think it maybe cost me $500. And you do that so you don't wreck your great. If you have a good vehicle, you don't wreck them and there's all that salt and all that. But so that's what I'm dealing with. So I'm trying to just get through that. And did she have winter tires? Brett, she works in the industry, and I'm sure she did. But you're her friend. You'll have to ask her. You're friends with her. See, we're all a family here. We're all friends. And my daughter, who I've wanted to have on the show with me for a while, we're going to talk about things, but she's very busy. But she's starting up her Buffalo Starving Artist series where she writes about, she interviews actors, writers, all these people in the arts in Buffalo, and she has that blog. So she's busy. Okay, so now that this has happened, we are not okay. We are not okay. 1 year, this guy, and it's not just him, and it might be something I might want to talk about a little bit, just looking at my screens here. Um, I want to talk a little bit about Stephen Miller, but first, I know you probably don't, but first, is everybody joined? Because I've got a really good video. And I found this guy I absolutely just love, this young guy. And I'm going to set it up. It's a longer video, but I think you'll really appreciate him. And I'm just hoping I have it. Okay, here it is.
I watched Trump.
All right, all right. I don't know if you've ever seen this guy. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to watch it with you. I think you'll enjoy it because he does it. He does an encapsulation of the Orange Turd's speech today, and believe me, there will be an environmental climate part of this show tonight. There always is. So let me sit back and let's listen. And he's very entertaining, but he's also really good at analyzing these ridiculous speeches so we don't have to. Okay. And like I said, I'll put the link in the notes. I don't know if any of you have seen him, but he sure as hell entertains me.
I watched Trump's press conference at the White House today, so you don't have to, and here's my overview. The craziest thing he said is that it's terrible what happened to Renee Good because her parents were very big Trump fans, but he hopes they're still very big Trump fans. We'll get into the meat of it. He spoke for an hour and 45 minutes. He mentioned Biden 26 times and Kamala Harris 4 times. He starts off by just holding up a ream of paper and saying that this is all the accomplishments that we've had in this year, and we've done more than any other administration in terms of ending wars. Then he just spends, I'm not kidding you, 10 minutes while he's just talking about different things, just holding up one picture after another, being like, this person's a criminal that we got, this person's a legal criminal that we got, and on the bottom it just says things like drug trafficking and domestic violence and murder. Yeah, crazy. He says the problem with fraud in Minnesota is a big issue, but in California it's way worse, and then also says that the protesters in Minnesota are paid agitators. He says that Somali people do the fraud crimes, but also they can't do the fraud crimes because they're low IQ and Somalia isn't even a country. Remind you, while he's saying this, he's still just holding up pictures of people, and he says Ilhan Omar is a crooked congressperson, and then he says that Venezuela has more oil than Saudi Arabia, and he's still just holding up pictures. And then he says, I hope you're not getting bored with this, about the fact that he just keeps holding up pictures while he's talking about other subjects. He says Don Lemon is a horrible person while he's holding up a picture of another individual. And then he says Border Patrol and ICE are largely Hispanic and Hispanic people love him. And then he won the border between Mexico and Texas. Oh, I put it in my notes. He actually spent 12 minutes holding up those pictures. And then he removes a binder clip from the ream of paper that he brought in. And he says that it almost caught his finger, and had it caught his finger, he wouldn't have said anything about the pain, but he would have been in really bad pain as it fell off. And then he blames some random reporter and is like, you did this to me, about him taking off a binder clip and it potentially possibly could have clipped his finger. I don't know. He says no one in this room has ever even heard of a 5% growth rate. Just reminding you, China has grown 10% every single year for more than a decade, and the US grew by 18% in 1942 during World War II, so he forgets about World War II, and also the people that he's supposedly really good friends with, like President Xi. While he's talking about all of his accomplishments, he says that the people in the US just don't know about it. 1, because they're listening to the fake news, but 2, because he has bad public relations people, I guess. On that note, I thought this was going to be 30 minutes because it is listed on the White House's YouTube page as Caroline Leavitt gives a press conference on January 20th, and then Trump came up and spoke for, again, an hour and 45 minutes. I thought I was going to get off with a half-hour one here, but nope. 2 hours. He says that because of his economy, the average 401k has gone up by over $27,000 per person. Do you feel almost $30,000 richer? Because I do not. He's talking about tariffs, and he says you're allowed to do a license, and a tariff is actually way less severe than a license. I don't know what licenses he's talking about, but he says that he should be allowed to be able to do tariffs because he's able to do licenses, and licenses are more severe than tariffs. Again, no idea what licenses he's talking about. He doesn't give any context. This is a direct quote. We have no inflation. We have very little inflation. And then later he's going to say, we have essentially no inflation. He says next year we won't have a trade deficit at all. He's just going to completely get rid of it. And then he says, quote, we have more plants being built than any other time in our history. Again, he forgets about World War II. He says that he has decreased the deficit by 27%, which is just easily fact checkable and wholly untrue. And then immediately starts talking about how Minnesota is full of murderers. He says that he said that he would cut 10 regulations for every one that he added in, but says that it's actually 129 regulations that have been cut for every single new one that they've added in. But then he says that that's not sustainable to keep getting rid of 129 regulations for every new one you put in. He says if Gavin Newsom ever ran this country, we would be Venezuela. Okay. And then he says that he increased the exports of the United States by $150 billion. Since we export $3.4 trillion in 2024, that's less than a 5% increase, at the cost of you having to pay tariffs on everything that comes into this country. He says if he wanted to get unemployment rates down, he could just hire 2 million people to the government and have people, just like 10 people doing one job. But he says he doesn't want to do that because that's what Democrats do. He says we're seeing reverse migration for the first time in 50 years, which is excellent when we're in a country with declining birth rates. You definitely want fewer people able to fuel the capitalist machine. He says that all the immigrants are criminals or from mental institutions, and then says that they make our criminals. And he talks about the Hells Angels specifically, who he then says the Hells Angels all voted for him. But he says that the criminals who are coming in from other countries, which again is everyone, make the Hells Angels look like babies. He says that tens of thousands of illegal immigrants have been removed from this country, but he also says that 21 million people entered this country. And if that's true, then he's removed less than 1/5 of 1% of the people that he says came into this country illegally. He says the only thing that Somali people are good for is being pirates. And then he says that Ilhan Omar comes from Somalia, but it's not even a country and they don't have a government or police or military. They just kill each other in pirate ships. He says he wanted to rename the Gulf of Mexico, in fact, to the Gulf of Trump, but then says that he's joking about that, but then says that it has a really good ring and maybe we're still going to do that. He says that everyone in our country is really proud of us attacking Venezuela and Iran, and then he says that Maduro killed millions of people in our country through drugs, and also Tren de Aragua took over Colorado. I live in Colorado. Tren de Aragua didn't take us over. He talks for a while about how DC is a safe city again, and then says that they didn't ask the National Guard to pick up trash. They just did that. Why? Probably because there was nothing for them to do, because there was no, criminal crisis happening in DC other than the fact that the White House is filled with criminals. But yeah, he says that wasn't in their job description, didn't ask them to do it. They just did it. Probably because they were bored. He says, and I swear to God, he says this, no one has won the state of Minnesota since Richard Nixon. And then he says immediately after that he won Minnesota 3 times. Just if you don't live in Minnesota, he never won Minnesota, ever. He said he signed an executive order to bring back mental institutions, and then he goes on this long diatribe about how there was a building in New York that he would see when he was growing up and when he was playing baseball. And also his mother said he could be a professional baseball player, but that they had bars all over the window, and then that closed down, and then all the ones in New York closed down. So now all the people who were in mental institutions are now living on the streets, and that's why you have a problem with crime. But says again, he signed an executive order to open up mental institutions again. When he's talking about all the wars that he ended, don't worry, there's a very long speed run, because again, he spoke for an hour and 45 minutes. He says that Ethiopia built the largest dam in the world. The largest dam in the world is the Three Gorges Dam, which China built, which is so big of a dam that the water that it's backing up literally has changed the time that it takes for the earth to rotate by like 1/10 of a quarter of a second, but it does. China built that, not Ethiopia. What is he talking about? Remember, he's trying to invade Greenland. He says that we would come to the aid of NATO, but he doubts that any NATO country would come to our aid if we needed it. Like many of them did during the entire time that we were fighting in the Middle East. He doesn't think that they would, though. He says China probably has a better understanding of how many people live in their country because they don't have all the illegal immigrants, and then says that the population of our country is probably 350 million people because of all the illegal immigrants. I'm just going to let you know that China, until recently, had no idea how many people were in their country and had to have estimates from outside groups. All of that is talked about in the book that I recommended to you just a couple days ago, Breakneck, China's Quest to Dominate, whatever. You should read it. Breakneck by Dan Wong. He brags for a long time about things that I don't know why he's bragging about, like that we left the WHO and that we left the Paris Climate Accord and that he got rid of an EV mandate, which never existed, and that he got rid of DEI hiring and the CAFE standards on cars. He says building all of the EV stations in order to be able to do the EV mandate would cost $4 trillion, but then says that no country in the world has $4 trillion after he says multiple times in here again in the speed run, $18 trillion has been invested. He says the service academy boards, like, the Naval Academy, their board of visitors was run by woke leftists, possibly communists, so he fired all of them. He says all of that, and then he starts taking questions. During the questions, he says the UN should have settled all of the wars that he ended. He says that Starmer and Macron are nice when they're with him, but then when they go away, they're really mean to him. Yeah, when people don't like you, they talk behind your back. He will at 3 different times ask a woman who has an accent, are you from X country or where are you from? For the 10%ers, that's just a consistency one. He does that so much. He is insistent that Norway, the government of Norway, handles the peace prize. It's not the separate committee. It's none of that. It is the government of Norway, which is why he sent that thing yesterday to the Norwegian prime minister. And he says that twice, that he's sure it's the government of Norway. He gets asked how far you go with Greenland, and he says, you're going to find out. He says he doesn't need to go to Congress for the 2K checks that you're supposedly still going to get. And he says that people only think the economy is bad because they believe the fake news and also our PR team is bad. And then he says he doesn't want to tell you if he's still going to take the Panama Canal. He says with Greenland, he's going to figure out something that works for both NATO and us, even though he's insistent that he's just going to take it. And then he says finally that God is very proud of the job he's done and he's protecting religious people like Christians and Jews. Speed run, 2020 was rigged and we have proof times 2. We're the hottest country in the world times 3. Gas is $1.99 times 5. 18 trillion invested times 4. Drug prices are going to go down by 300, 400, 500, 600%. For 8 months, no one has come in illegally, and Democrats said that. And then immediately after that, he says that illegal crossings are down 99.99%. We're going to be bombing land soon. He's been saying that for months. 97% of the water drugs are reduced. The country will be destroyed in a year if Joe or Kamala was elected. We have 92% of the shoreline of the Gulf of Mexico. 300,000 people a year die of ODs. DC is safe and beautiful now. Cashless bail means you just get to kill someone and then get let go. Antifa are domestic terrorists. We ended 8 unendable wars. Should have gotten the Nobel Prize for each one that he ended. I run out of time here. He did more for NATO than any other person dead or alive. Battleships are 100 times more powerful than World War II. Anti-tariff lawyers are pro-China. Clean, beautiful coal. There are only 2 genders. Brags for a while about men and women's sports. Jack Smith is sick. Letitia James is sick. Alvin Bragg is sick. Also Fannie Willis. No water in LA because of a tiny fish. He inherited a terrible mess with the border and economy. Fixed all of it in 12 months. With all energy prices are going to come down with gas. Saved tens of millions of lives times 4. And we were invaded by immigrants. Look at that, 10%ers. I got it all in under 10 minutes.
Wow. I thought you guys would like that. Listen, I didn't have to do it, right? I did not have to do it. I will put the name of his channel and everything. I know he's on a couple of platforms. It's like Trump. I'll get it all. I just wanted to show him to you because I thought he was great. He's good. And I saw you guys were having a little bit of a discussion about NATO and who was where. I guess he's not perfect, but he's pretty good. Pretty good. So this year, 1 year, it's been one hell of a year. We have all just gone through it's stressful. It's very stressful. And I've kept the channel. It was the year that I lost the channel, but I got it back. And here we are. And who knows now? We really don't know what the ramifications are going to be of NSPM 7-7. I would love to have Ken Klippenstein on as a guest. I am working on a few. Art Berman, Kevin Blanche. I'd like to have Butch Ware from the Green Party. So I'm doing some writing out for guests. So that's kind of cool. And I'm really not. I didn't make this so formal this tonight, but I have a bunch of clips. We're going to look at the clips and we're going to talk about them. We have clips and articles, and I primed you with that young man who I think is just amazing. So in 1 year, I would say we are, how they use the words guardrail. Well, there's no guardrails. We're really, actually, this is where we are. Just like my daughter's car. It's kind of a metaphor. It's sort of like my intro video. But we are in unitary executive theory. Project 2025 is no longer a project. It is in full force. Centralized government. that's what they did. Supreme Court let it happen. And this guy is he's really out of control. We all see it every day. I mean, we're all savvy consumers here. We know what's happening. So uh I thought, all right, let me pull up another clip, but these are short and they're for discussion. And there was one thing I didn't look up, which we probably could talk about when I pull it up. But I'm going to show you this one
Tell me.
video because it's really illustrative of what's happening in the United States as far as our civil liberties and civil rights, which could even, well, you'll see. But let's watch this and then we'll talk about what's happening here.
Tell me again what the other player told you during games.
So the goalkeeper in futsal, he said some really bad stuff to me, and it just made me get really emotional in my game. And I barely get emotional in soccer. And this guy told me I'm an illegal immigrant, even though I was born in America. He said Trump is gonna get me and send me back to where I used to live, and I was born in America. I don't live anywhere else. And then he called me an effing B word, and I just don't get why kids like to say those stuff. It makes me really sad that how they just control their power like that. They think they have power, and it's just not nice.
Sorry, man.
That's like really messed up, isn't it? That's illustrative of what's going on in this country. That the fascist little Nazi racists can actually. This is the person, the goal, the grown up that, or the goaltender. Maybe it was a not the grown up, or an older kid possibly. But look at that child who is an American. If this is what's happening, I wish I could just get off. I wish I would have left. But you don't leave, you fight. We're all fighting and we're all activists here. We're all people that give a shit in our own way and do things. But I thought it was just horrible. And there's no norms. There's no norms, and it's like punishment just for not being a pasty white person. Punishment is really, it's like the policy now. Even they don't manage immigration anymore. It's not managing it. I don't care what they say about the border. It's not deterrence, it's cruel. And this is just an example. If this is happening to a school kid, and that was very, very moving. If that's happening to a school kid, imagine what we're not seeing. Because not everything, God damn, my hair is in my mouth again. Not everything is online. We're not seeing it all. We're not. So 1 year we've seen this ice grow. We've seen the ice budget grow. I don't have the statistic, but it's definitely the largest budget. And my opinion is we need to abolish ICE. And somebody like Cory Booker, who was talking about training, it's bullshit because he's a Democratic senator and who is he appeasing? He's talking about training these people when they are untrainable. There has been an organization. The guy that shot Renee in Minnesota, he was 10 years. Okay. He was 10 years. So that's bullshit too. It just has to be abolished. And I think that there are some people in our government that may start saying this. They might. So 1 year, immigration and civil liberties, pretty much messed up. Do we have civil liberties? Do we have civil liberties anymore? They're sure getting eroded. It feels like that. And I'm just reporting what's happening, what we're seeing. There is not, I can't sit here and, my usual, sit there and say, oh, zippity doo dah. I'm not going to do that. I'm showing you what's going on. And I have other videos to set up, but I want to tell you that also the courts, 1 year courts, the judicial appointments he's made, like Judge Janine, Judge Janine, TV show personalities. Like we're in a reality show. That's how I think this man thinks of it, a reality show. And it's like, even if the power does change, it's going to take decades to go back. And this is all in 1 year. He's eroded, him and his administration and his little fashy people have eroded labor, environment, voting rights. They've eroded the corporate accountability. Is there any? Is there any? They just write a check and say, okay, and this is for you. And they buy their way into getting what they want. And another thing is the government, the messaging, the websites. In 1 year, how the websites have been just mangled to absurdity. I mean, they contradict their own data. They've taken data down so people don't even know. They don't even have the labor statistics up. It's very, very sad. And our shared reality in life, which in this country, the government would share information with us, let us know what was going on. Well, it's eroding day after day, day after day. U.S., 1 year, it's pretty much less governable, except by ICE like they want. Federal institutions, nobody's trusting, except for a very small sliver of people that are still really hardcore supporters in the cult, or that listen to Fox or have Fox TV on. It's interesting. A friend of my ex-husband was trying to get in touch with him, and he sent me a video of a stew. He chatted with me. I told him, I said, well, I think Doug's phone is shit and he doesn't have money to get a new one, whatever. But in the background, he's showing me, taking a video of what he's cooking, this guy, right? And he's sending it to me. And in the background, he's got Fox on. And I asked him, I said, do you really, really have that on? And this guy, he's an indigenous. He's Native American. I don't know why he's listening to Fox. And I'm surprised. I was really surprised. But we did get into it. And I'm going to look at it as an opportunity to educate him. I guess it's because of where he lives up there in the county. I'm not going to say where he lives. But it's coming. It's coming for him. As much as he wants to assimilate or whatever he thinks he's done. I don't know. And then what else in a year? Climate risk higher. It's worse. I've got a couple of reports I'm going to show you, actually. And, all right. So I also wanted to talk about his cabinet, but maybe we won't do that right now. I'll show you another video. And then we'll talk about this one. Okay, this guy. All right, this was in the news this week.
This is for you as well, Commander Davino.
It's delusional.
At a press conference today, we heard from several local police chiefs who said that they support ICE, but that certain ICE tactics are making their jobs, keeping their own community safe, that much harder. What's your response?
I would say that those tactics are born of necessity.
Oh my God!
What we do is legal, ethical, and moral. Everything
right?
we do
is he a
every
liar?
day is legal, ethical, moral, well grounded in law. So I would impugn upon those police chiefs and anyone else, elected representatives, and you have to remember, many of these police chiefs do work for the Mayor Fries of the world, that turn over those illegal aliens, those criminal illegal aliens. Let me hold these up again, so just so we don't forget this, because it seems like it always gets forgotten. Rape, lewd and lascivious acts against a child.
Okay. Listen, I could pull up all of the January 6ers that have already gotten in trouble, and that for sexual things against the law with children, the pastors, the religious folks. He shows one person. And this is the guy. I thought I had this picture, and I guess I don't. Where he was, I think we all saw it, where he was marching in Minneapolis in the actual Nazi-looking regalia, the actual same color as the SS uniforms. This guy is a drop. I mean, he is a fucking Nazi. I never thought in my life that what was once in my lifetime on the fringes of our system, fringes. You would always see them at different marches, but there wasn't a lot of them. Now they're in the cabinet. Now they're running our government. They're actually running our government. These people, they're picked for loyalty and this sick ideology. And of course, their industry ties, some of them in the cabinet. And I might go over some of the names and just say my thoughts about them. But they're awful, oh, yeah, another thing here. I just finished filing my federal taxes. I owe Israel $1,024. I owe SpaceX $639. I owe Palantir $451. ICE, I owe $318. Oh, and we can't forget about Trump's weekend golf trips. That's $211. And guess what? 2 cents goes to poor people of my tax money. Yep, that's the truth. Why am I paying federal taxes? Why are you paying federal taxes? Why are we paying federal taxes? I thought this was great. Chaz sent it to me. It works because that's exactly what's happening. Exactly. We just gave. How much did we give, Chaz? Hi, sweetheart. We just gave another $3 billion. And again, with Israel, it's contentious, but they are governed by the religious nuts. It is and I'm not putting down people's religions. It's Orthodox. It's when they are zealots. And these are the zealots that are in this country. They're zealots. Iran, they're zealots. Here it's white Christian nationalists. Thank you, Chaz. That was a great one. Yeah. I forgot what, Poppy? What did I forget? The Greenland. You forgot the Greenland for America Fund. Oh my God, yeah. Oh, I love you guys. So yeah, see, tonight is just really intimate and going through this stuff. I'm not that. I mean, of course it took me a lot to set it up, but of course, my daughter's accident sort of triggered me a bit. Oh, and my cat. I wrote an article on Substack about my cat. What's the matter? Sound? You can't hear me? No, I'll make it a little louder. Okay. I wrote an article on Substack about my kitty cat just to a diversion and to feel better. My 2.5-year-old little boy is at the vet. It's going to cost me a fortune. And you can go to Environmental Coffee House and read it yourself, what I wrote about him, little Siku, 2.5 years old, and a UTI. And I think I told you when I was away how I caught him on the Ring cam. I just happened to turn it on when the house sitter was not in here and he was peeing in the sink. Well, he was on the antibiotic for 10 days. and it wasn't working. So he's on a little medical vacation at the vet, and it made me really sad. So I'm sad over that. I'm sad over this year anniversary. I know that I am online probably chronically or too much, but it's finding material for the show. I mean, there's good things. For example, here's a good thing. Debbie, my master gardener, one of my best friends, she came back and from NOFA, which is it's a state meeting for other master gardeners, quite honestly. And she came back and called me, and she's so excited. We have a new pole bean, and I can't wait. She says it's a gorgeous bean, and it's different, and it's going to be amazing, and she's going to share it. So we have these little beautiful things to look forward to, like a pole bean, a pole bean. And I'll be seeing her tomorrow. We're going to talk about everything that happened in the meeting, because she then brings the knowledge she gets, and brings it back to me. So that's cool. So I'm blue about the cat. I'm worried about my daughter, and I'm sick over our country, because our country, it's totally power. It's power over any kind of accountability anymore. And it's this extraction industry over any kind of stewardship of the land. It's again, I say the loyalty word, because that's what it is with this guy, like a mafioso, over competence, because I don't think these people are competent, and they just love spectacles and fake news, like Kellyanne Conway named it fake, alternate. What did she say? Not fake news. He named it fake news. She called it alternative facts. Yeah. So there we are. There we are. I have another one, and I'm going to play this one, I think. Yeah, and then we're going to talk about a report that came out. So hang on.
If they go 2030, they are deciding to be subservient to China, who makes the batteries. Why would you do that?
Can't
Why
stand
would the
this guy.
United States of America, which has oil and natural gas,
Listen to this.
try to convert to all electricity? China does not have oil and natural gas. Electricity and electric cars make perfect sense to them. That is practical and logical. So the point I want to make, and I want people to think about, is that America First is the job of our government to take care of our workers, to make sure their lives are better for it. And then don't be America alone, right? But be America First.
How's that working out, luck nuts?
And I would suggest that policy is something for other countries to deeply consider, to take care of their own, and then we will work out wonderful relationships between us. But I want to point out, when America shines, the world shines. Close your eyes and think of a world without America in it.
I think a lot of people
pretty dark.
I think a lot of people look at the face on that guy. A lot of people can imagine right now the world without America.
Pretty darn quickly. When America shines, right? And everyone said, oh, you're going to do all these tariffs, you're going to destroy the world. The world's stock markets are
fuck
up.
you.
Which ones of them? All of them.
He's an out of touch billionaire from Cantor Fitzgerald. This guy is such an ass-licking toady that it makes me sick. But we're going to move over, because what he has to understand.
If they go 2030, they...
Did I have... Okay, we saw that, but I want to pull up the report he needs to look at. And I need to turn this off. Okay, the report Okay, here it is. The Global Climate Highlights. This is the report Howard Licknuts really should look at. Global Climate Highlights, because he's talking about the world doing well. And in another little bit, he had talked about, why does anybody need to be off of anything but gas. I don't know. Can he really be this dense? Is he really lying, this outwardly lying? I feel like they are. And this is the report that it's the global climate highlights report from the Copernicus. Oh boy, I'm doing great tonight. Copernicus Climate Change Service. And it's a brief synopsis of the state of the global climate in 2025, mainly based on the data from the ERA5 Global Atmosphere Reanalysis produced by the European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasts. Now, which we will be relying on more and more since the United States is taking everything offline. So here we go. 2025, third warmest year on record. They go over sea surface temperature, how exceptional were the past 3 years, sea ice, a world of extreme events, long-term trends in climate indicators, and the Paris Agreement targets. Where are we now and where are we going? So there's a lot of stuff in this report. Of course, it'll be in the show notes. But 2025 continues the shift towards higher global temperatures. Tell me that Licknuts doesn't know this. And that all these sick fucks are just going to run us into the ground like Bill Gates, who is invested in fossil fuels. They think that their money is going to save them. They're delusional. You know? We're all going to the same place. So it's you see it there. Let me move something on my screen here. Distribution of the the daily global average surface air temperature anomalies relative to 1991, which is figure 1, and each year from 40 to 25. Selected important climate events have been annotated. Now, was it Antonio that told me the other day that they know damn well that it's not a hoax? They just don't want to invest their money in anything but fossil fuels because that's where their bread is buttered. Yeah, and that is where Donald Trump just stole all the Venezuela oil money and put it in bank accounts in Qatar. We are run by a global cabal of criminals. Criminals. And it is just, it's why we have to be out there. It's why we have to take chances. But this is, there's the anomalies, the actuals, and the 3 highest. I wanted to go down to this where we all know this as well, but this is a nice report here that Howard Licknuts really ought to read. 2025 ranks as the third warmest year on record, following the unprecedented temperatures observed in 23 and 24. So isn't that the perfect time to shit can every bit of science that's good in the United States, or try to put NCAR offline, get rid of NCAR? Exceptional heat continues to redefine climate records. And here it was, the first 3-year average over 1.5. Yeah. And up, like Jennifer and I used to say, everything going up. You see the years and you see the data and you see 1.5. I don't know, can you see it? Is it big enough? But we've been going through this through all the shows, through the whole year. All monthly temperature records have been broken under the past 3 years. And we can trust Copernicus. We're not going to be able to trust anything from the U.S. because there ain't anything from the U.S. left. They're not updating. Although Climate U.S. is the private, how they took that off. I shared that video out today, which I probably should do more so people know that Climate US is happening, and they need help, though. It's going to be just like everything in the gig economy. It's going to be donate to get the good information. And these are scientists all together in Climate US. So there were anomalies and extremes in surface air temperature. This figure 5 right here. I mean, you could see it right there. Cooler, much cooler, cooler than average. Where? Where? Warmer than average, much warmer. These anomalies and extremes in surface temperature in 2025, which is the larger one, the top one, and in 2023 and 2024. The color categories refer to the percentiles of the temperature distributions for the 1991 to 2020 reference period. And the extreme coolest and warmest categories are based on the rankings of 79 to 25. But as you can see, this is a report that Howard Licknuts should really read, but he's too busy flying around. And if you saw my opening video, I had to fly to Florida. That's where my mother lives. I'm no different, am I? Or am I? Or is it like the old saying that Sam always said, if your seat wasn't on it, if your ass wasn't in the seat, someone else's would be. So this report is pretty good if you want to read it. 2025 saw higher temperatures in the polar regions and also Europe. And Europe is suffering, definitely suffering. We've watched all of the suffering. Yeah, I'm saying Howard Licknuts or Nutlick or whatever. He's got so many nicknames. Yep, he's got a lot of nicknames, Rishi. Yeah. Okay. Sea surface temperature. So it goes over everything. And this is probably something I don't know. I didn't see. Did Jim go over this on his channel? He might have. I have been really so deep in the politics, which it is to my detriment because these are the reports I like to dig into. But the sea surface temperature was the second warmest on record for the time of year from January to May behind 2024, the third warmest from June to October behind 2023 and 2024, and the fourth warmest in November and December behind 2023 and 2015. Well, the sea surface temperature is the barometer. It's the oceans. The heat stays in the oceans. And that's what brings up the moisture. We're in such trouble. Anomalies and extremes, so you see them right here. Northwest Pacific was mostly much warmer than average or record warm. Northeastern Atlantic, record warm over large areas. Up here, and everybody's fighting. Everybody's fighting as we get warmer and as we destroy the planet. These psychopaths, real psychopaths, just want to destroy everything. They do. And in the equatorial Pacific was cooler than average, reflecting the ENSO neutral or weak La Nina conditions. But that'll change. Tropical Atlantic and Indian Ocean was less extreme than in 2024. And that'll change. The anomalies and extremes in sea surface temperature in 2025, the color categories refer to the percentiles of the temperature distributions for 1991 to 2020 reference period. So, but we see the continuation of much warmer than average, which is a lot of the planet. Yep. So how exceptional were the past 3 years? Comparing current conditions with a climatology based on a moving average, rather than the traditional fixed 30-year average, can be used to investigate anomalous events in a changing climate. Against an evolving background climatological state, annual anomalies are more easily identified. So by how much do annual global temperatures deviate from the evolving climatological averages? Whoa, a lot. All right. There's the deviation is you can see it on the line. It's the two different colors. The differences in the global average temperature from the designated pre-industrial 1850 to 1900, which they use here, based on the averages of monthly values from up to 6 data sets. So this is compiled from Berkeley Earth, another one called the HAD CRUT 5 and NOAA Global Temp from 1850, which I don't even think you could, we're going to be able to trust NOAA anymore. The GIS temp from 1880, ERA 5, which is the popular IPCC from 1940, and JRA 3Q from September 47. These data sets are normalized to have the same averages for 1991 to 2020 and an average offset of 0.88 C. So less than 1 is used to relate 1991 to 2020 at the 1850. So the black curve, it shows the estimate of the long-term climatological variation of temperature. And the red and blue bars show the deviation of the annual average temperatures from the estimate. So as you see, the different years and how it's basically everything just goes up. And these were things that happened, the El Niños, the La Nina eruption, remember Mount Pinatubo, El Nino, but we have gone 2024 is deviated, put it that way. I think the word deviant is good for this time. We are deviant in political aspects and we are deviant in climatological aspects. So it goes on to tell you about that. And sea ice, of course, you'll want to read this. What factors were behind the warmth? We don't have to go through everything, but the ones that it was atmospheric circulation anomalies, low sulfur dioxide emissions by shipping, which is what Leon Simmons always talks about, reduced amounts of low-level cloud, solar cycle maximum, and temperature and water vapor feedback. Very interesting report, actually. And talks about the near-record sea ice lows and the global extent. Now, that was what Jennifer and I used to talk about almost every Friday night for years. And it's not gotten any better since we were reporting on it. A world of extreme events. Extreme events in 2025 had significant impacts on human health, ecosystems, and infrastructure. Among the most exceptional events were flooding, extreme heat, drought, and wildfires. So concurrently with the orange turd administration eroding democracy, taking power, stealing all the money, all the corrupt schemes and concurrently we have had insanely rising extreme events. We had flash floods that were caused by intense, in some cases, record precip. For example, the USA in February, and then in China, South Korea, Pakistan, and the USA and India during the boreal summer, or by glacial melting, including 3 glacial origin floods in May and June in Nepal, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, and 2 in July in Nepal. The world is affected. There was also larger scale flooding due to the passage of atmospheric rivers. We saw that. Daniel Swain reports on that. Weather West, the wonderful Daniel, who I should write to also. I have a list. I already wrote to Art Berman, but I'm telling you, I have a list of all these people I would really like to talk to. And so there, I don't even have to go on. We just know it's not good. More heat stress than average over half the globe. 50% of the globe land areas, excluding Antarctica, experienced more days than average with at least strong heat stress. Feels like temperature of 32 C or above. In some regions, such as parts of the southern USA and eastern Asia, there were up to 45 more days with at least strong heat stress than average, while Central Africa saw up to around 110 more days with very strong heat stress, 38 C or above. In 2025, some regions, such as most of Australia, parts of northern Africa, and in the Arabian Peninsula, saw more extreme heat stress days than average. Up to a third of the globe, including regions such as Southern Africa and Southern Asia, saw fewer heat stress days than average, which is okay. But do we hear this in the mainstream media in the United States? Do they compare and contrast? Hell, the podcasters don't even talk on the left about anything. I'm like the only climate environment science podcaster right now on some of the platforms that I'm very happily wearing the mantra. Not the mantra. I'm just wearing the label, whatever it is. So we've had half the globe experiencing more days than average with heat stress. Just, juxtaposition that with what's happening in the United States and the wars and what Israel's doing to Gaza, destroying those people, just leveling the whole area. Wow. What does that do? What do all the bombs do to the atmosphere? What does it do to the land? I've made videos on the environmental damage from war. I've made them. So the long-term trends, and I'm just going to read here. In recent decades, temperatures over land have risen twice as fast as those over the ocean. Hot. Europe is the fastest warming of all WMO regions at around twice the global average. So Europe is warming faster, and they are getting fucked by the United States faster. Arctic temperatures have risen more rapidly than those in the rest of the globe, with an estimated warming of around 3°C since the 70s. And since the 80s, global sea surface temperatures, extra polar ocean 60 degrees south to 60 degrees north, have seen an increase of around 0.6°C. European seas of around 1. That's a lot. And the Mediterranean Sea of around 1.3. That's a lot. That's a lot of warming. That's also why the coral reefs are basically done. Since 2020, atmospheric concentrations of two most important anthropogenic greenhouse gases, CO2 and methane, have seen an annual increase of about 2.4 ppm and 12 ppb respectively. So all of this is in here, and I'm not going to go through the Paris Agreement. We all know right now this says this was by the end at 1.4, but there is a lot. We reached it. We already reached it. So they've got a little hopium going on at the end because we already reached it. So I wanted to do that one, and I thought it was a good report. Then there is still there is another one, but I think we're going to go back to me. We're going to change gears and go back.
If they go 2030.
Oh God, we didn't want to hear his voice. Change gears and go back a little bit into this one. I want to listen to him.
So we are doing everything.
Hang on, because this is what's going on now.
So we are doing everything we can and should do as a good ally of the Americans, and we hope we can keep it that way and we don't become enemies.
Rasmus, you may be somewhat dismayed to hear what one of Donald Trump's senior advisors, Stephen Miller, had to say. Please take a listen to this. I'll get your reaction on the other side.
Denmark is a tiny country with a tiny economy and a tiny military. They cannot defend Greenland.
And he probably has a tiny little pee-pee.
Under every understanding of law that has existed about territorial control for 500 years, to control a territory, you have to be able to defend a territory, improve a territory, inhabit a territory. Denmark has failed on every single one of these tests.
Rasmus, you gave a pretty comprehensive answer, pretty much countering everything Stephen Miller had to say before I asked this question. But if you could say one thing to Stephen Miller, what would you like to say?
I know what I'd say.
I hope he's kept away from young women, because that's the mentality of a rapist. You can't defend yourself, so I'm going to take you. That's basically what he's saying. And it has never been like that in international law that he's saying. On the contrary, the United States have signed several treaties with Denmark recognizing the ownership. One of them.
Well, you said it, Sean. Greenland is essential for America's national security.
He's a Nazi.
The new domain
a Jewish
of international
Nazi.
competition is
Unbelievable.
going to be polar competition. That is where more and more resources are being spent by our nation's adversaries and rivals, is the ability to control movement, navigation, lanes of travel in the polar and Arctic regions.
Now,
Greenland is
what I want
25% larger than Alaska.
what I want you to do is listen to the affect that he does not have. Listen to how flat his affect is, and I have a theory.
Greenland is the size of 1/4 of the continental United States. With respect to Denmark, Denmark is a tiny country with a tiny economy and a tiny military. They cannot defend Greenland. They cannot control
How
the territory of
offensive
Greenland.
is this?
Under every understanding of law that has existed about territorial control for 500 years, to control a territory.
I'm not playing the rest. I have one more little part of him.
The cartels are gone. The criminal migrants are gone. The gangs are gone. America is for Americans and Americans only. One man. And that man, ladies and gentlemen, that man took a bullet for you. He took a bullet for democracy. And
how mad does that make you? Okay, here's my theory, and I've been putting it all over the internet. I honestly think even his affect when he was speaking to the crowd is flat. I do think, maybe diagnosed, maybe not diagnosed. I am not a psychiatrist. I think he's a schizophrenic, and I think his primary presenting symptom is paranoia. And there are a lot of internet shrinks out there always talking about Donald Trump's narcissism and all of Donald Trump's problems. But this is the guy whispering in Donald Trump's ear with his flat, paranoid affect. I would like to start seeing even Mary Trump, who's a psychologist. I would really like to see somebody start looking at this guy, really looking at this guy and telling us what's going on here, because I'm uncomfortable listening to him. And I'm not putting down schizophrenics. My cousin was, she's passed away, but she's schizophrenic. But when you have someone like this who is just that close to the president, and you know that the orange turd is taking a lot of what this little Nazi says, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Now, I saw there was a, Evil in the Flesh, but there was somebody else that has Miller Group needs a new island. Yeah, psychopath. But see, it's more than that. It really is. It's the paranoid ideation that he has. And I would say that if he was ever diagnosed, nobody's talked about it. Or they're not telling us the truth. And I feel sorry for his children. But this guy is really dangerous. He's really dangerous. And I don't know. Where are we going with this guy? Where are we going? He's been horrible since the beginning. I don't know. Keith, you had a different word? Okay. So this is the article about the one video we saw.
If they go 2030...
Oh, my God. I don't understand why my stuff does this.
Mr. President?
I don't like it, but I'm going to play a couple things, but then we're going to talk about Miller a little bit more. I think it's important. Hang on. First, we're going to hear this guy at Davos.
Mr. President, fuck off.
Okay, Mr. President, fuck off. And then there was an article. All right, we're going to go through the article I have. Danish politician accuses Stephen Miller of, and I'm really off tonight, guys. I'm very blah. But I'm with you. I needed to be with you. You needed to be with me. Danish politician accuses Stephen Miller of having mentality of a rapist, which he just said. Shocking. A shocking MS Now interview. Yeah, we heard what he said. Alex Witt offered an on-air disclaimer after a member of Denmark's parliament made that shocking statement. You know what? Good for him. Danish MP Rasmus Jarlov spoke with Witt on Saturday about President Trump's continued threats to take over Greenland, which has been firmly under the auspices of Denmark since 1814. Witt played the video of Miller that we saw arguing for Greenland to become part of the United States before. And he says, tiny country. We heard what he said, and I think he has a tiny dick. Sorry. Tiny dick energy. But honestly, I really think he's a schizophrenic. And let's hope that we can get one of those online shrinks to do something about figuring out what's wrong with this guy. In a shocking response to Miller, Jarlov said, I hope he's kept away from young women because that's the mentality of a rapist. You can't defend yourself, so I'm going to take you. That's basically what he's saying. Jarlov went on to slam Miller's understanding of international law. The United States has signed several treaties with Denmark recognizing the ownership. One of them was 1917. So this is a new position from the American government, and we have to be able to trust the promises, the words, and the alliances that we make with the Americans, because otherwise it's not worth anything. And being an ally of the Americans, he said, and I think it's very crucial that we stay together because our alliance, our partnership has kept us safe. So you think about this. How is this going to happen with this administration? How are we going to have these relationships? How? I don't see it happening. Not really. I don't see it happening. God damn it! Sorry. Shit. My software's a little weird. So, how? Okay. All right, here's another bit of outrage for us to work ourselves chew on here. And this is what's left in Gaza. See the tents in the back? That's from the rain. That's where people are living because their whole country has been bombed to smithereens. And that's another issue. That's another clusterfuck. Of an issue. What's happening over there? What guy really wants to speak? What are you guys talking about? Poppy. What guy really wants to speak? Yeah, Jarlov. I think so. Yep. Absolutely. But, so then we have the destruction over there. And we have mark my words, the Gaza Riviera is going to happen. And it's going to happen sooner than later. I don't know where the people are going to be pushed to. Or they're going to let them die by not having aid. It's just inhumane and horrible. But it's happening at the same time that Orange Turd is building his bunker in the White House with all new command station with our tax money. All new because he's not going to leave. He's going to try not to leave. That's what's happening. Our tax money. Do we want that? No. And what percent do? What percent do? Trump is preparing to take Greenland by force. The U.S. 11th Airborne Division, based in Anchorage, Alaska, nicknamed the Arctic Angels, is the only specialized U.S. combat force trained for combat in the Arctic Circle. They've recently been placed on alert, ostensibly for possible deployment to Minneapolis. Not so, according to former Naval Intelligence Officer Malcolm Nance. If the 11th Airborne is alerted or mobilized or deployed, that is an unambiguous intelligence indicator that their intention is to take Greenland by force. Now, in the beginning, I know there was a comment by Poppy about going to war with NATO, which is not actually happening with NATO. But it's the diplomatic tension and it's the conflict. It's not war yet, but everybody's talking World War III. It's that push, this aggressive push that he's doing. He wants to take Greenland. And Malcolm Nance is saying that is why these people, they're lying to us. These people are in Alaska to deploy. And today I saw Trump when he was in that news conference, and I caught him saying, no. Or he wouldn't tell us. He said, I'll tell you later. Or he wasn't knowing about what's happening when he was asked about that. But it's very alarming. We've seen the European leaders sending a lot of military reinforcement to Greenland. We've seen people marching in Greenland against Trump, wearing those Make America Go Away hats. The U.S. is also planning to reduce some NATO command positions and advisory groups, which Europeans are saying is weakening the alliance. That's what he wants to do. So what's going on in Davos actually is the World Economic Forum of the billionaire class of psychopaths, because I think being a billionaire goes along with being a psychopath now. Well, they like to talk about their global economic cooperation with the geopolitical, the dialogue, the talking. But the orange turd, no. His administration, they are using Davos to press its vision for Greenland and border security. But they're not declaring war on NATO allies. They want to just do this. And they're going to do it if they want to do it. We've seen what he did in Venezuela. We see how they lied to us. And we see that it seems like the politicians are powerless to do anything. That's what it sure appears like. But the European leaders, they're saying that the tensions do threaten NATO. I mean, it could all fall apart. And it's a mess. But it's like concurrently with our climate, the geopolitical situation is changing. Not for the better, I don't think. Not for the better. All right. So, where are we with you guys? You've gone over an hour already, but that's okay. It's all right. Let's see, guys. Oh, yeah, really. That's a really good question, Kim. How come no more boats are being bombed in Venezuela? Well, what do you think is the reason? Duh. A great question. Because there was never any reason. They just murdered those people as a precursor to what they did with Maduro. A precursor. What's the shadow banning, Keith? What's annoying? I don't know. They may be able to take Greenland, but they'll not be able to hold it. I don't know if you guys saw my meme. I don't even know where it is. I mean, maybe I could pull it up. Let's see if I can pull it up. Hang on. I'm not sure. You probably did see it. All right. Hang on. I've got... well, why won't it... I'm looking for the way to... Hang on. I don't think I could bring it up. I don't really feel like screwing around with everything, but I made a meme about Greenland and I said, yeah, they're getting ready. They're getting ready to make it Vietnam on ice. Vietnam on ice. Yeah. Yeah. No, I asked him, Kim. He's not. He's busy. He doesn't want to do that right now. Uh, and he wants to be called Going South. And he's not going to be on. Well, let's hope. They're very strong. But we're dealing with a lot of terrible people, you know. We really are. Let me see what I have set up. Anything more we want to look at? I think we've pretty much looked at mostly everything. Oh, wait a minute. I got one more. I can't stand. Here's another asshole. This guy. I cannot stand this guy. Hang on.
We are going to give guidance at some point.
Oh,
to
he's
see
such a liar.
What is a mom and pop? That someone, maybe your parents for their retirement, about 5, 10, 12 homes. So we don't want to push the mom and pops out. We just want to push everyone else out.
We just want to push everyone else out. What the fuck is he talking about? He is with his strategic uncertainty. Scott Besson is probably one of the lamest people in this administration, and he's really bad at interviews. He's just another lackey, another creep. This week we had Brooke Rollins on parade. Brooke, with her, she's like got the worst policy impacts. She rescinded so many environmental protections for 45 million acres. She's the Secretary of Agriculture. 45 million acres of national forest roadless protections, and use the USDA powers to suspend federal financial awards to state like Minnesota, you know. But the whole new thing is now the dairy industry, which is probably donating a lot of money, and the got milk thing. And the whole thing I have with this whole milk bullshit is, first of all, humans, I don't think, need cow milk. But they are talking about, okay, we're going to put full fat milk back in schools for kids. They're telling adults to drink it. And I'm thinking, wow, I think a lot of cardiologists are going to have a lot more business, because full fat milk is not a good way to go. And they're not teaching anybody how to eat. If they're saying that, okay, it's great to do full fat, nobody is teaching them. So let's say, okay, there's the keto diet, which is low carb. You know, all these things are metabolic. You just don't tell people to start eating a lot of meat and drinking a lot of red milk. We are going to have an explosion in cardiology. I'll tell you, if you have kids that are going to school, send them to medical school for cardiology, especially with RFK Jr. and Brooke Rollins. That was the biggest bunch of shit, seeing them around the table doing that. Drinking the milk. And so she's just another ass-licking toady. Really, she is. And just as much as Doug Burgum. He's the Interior Department. And they are going to, it's all in the year, you know, extract on federal lands. And they want to sell them. And they're treating them like financial assets. They're not treating them as beautiful ecological assets. Yep. Undermining everything about the U.S. policy. Yep. And another terrible one is Pam Bondi, that lying sack of shit. I'm giving you the greatest hits of the whole year. She's another one, you know. They're investigating everyone. If you fart, they're going to investigate you. Yep. Pretty much they're just awful people. They really are. And I just want to talk to you guys. I want to ask about this. Hang on.
Have you invited President Putin to be a member of the Board of Peace?
Shit.
Yeah, he's been invited.
Do you have any response to President Macron saying he will not?
The Board of Peace.
Oh, did he say that? Well, nobody wants him because he's going to be out of office very soon. So, that's all right. What I'll do is if they feel like Costo, I'll put a 200% tariff on his wines and champagnes, and he'll join. But he doesn't have to join. If he said that, you're probably giving it to me a little bit differently. But if he actually did say that, but as you know, he's going to be out of office in a few months.
The Board of Peace. And then the psychotic, psychopathic, narcissistic orange turd sends a letter and says, well, I didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize, so I don't have to think about peace anymore. Holy shit. When I do this, if you notice on all of my thumbnails now, I'm going to open this one. All of my thumbnails, if you've noticed, can you find one of these things is not like the other? He's going to be in every one of my thumbnails. Look at the top. Because we're in the goddamn Twilight Zone. And oh my God, I wish they would all just shut up. I wish they would really all just shut up. Okay. You tell my mood is pretty bad, huh? All right, so what are we going to flush? And then I have a couple more things to talk about of what we can do. But let's figure out what we can flush. I mean, there's a lot. Yeah, Rod Serling, goddamn right. He's going to be in every one of my memes, every one of my thumbnails. He's just now. Rod Serling has joined Environmental Coffee House. Yeah. He has joined it. You see? The sleeping asshole. But he's going to be there. He'll be there with everybody. All right. You'll see him. All right, guys. What are we going to flush? We always flush. I want to flush Stephen Miller. We're going to start with a good old Stephen Miller flush. Let's get him going. Bye-bye, Stephen Miller. We're going to flush you down the Environmental Coffee House. Oh, boy. Bye-bye, Stephen. Yeah, love to flush him. Really. All right, guys, we're going to put some of your stuff up here, too. I don't know if I've run out. I just don't know what the Board of Peace is. I haven't really studied that yet. Some people were saying, what is the Board of Peace supposed to take the place of NATO? And it's you have to pay $1 billion to who? To Donald Trump? $1 billion to be on the Board of Peace? And it has the name Gaza? I'm sorry, it's for the Riviera of Gaza. That's what this is for. Flush ice. Flush ice. All right, we'll do one more flush. You know what I'm going to try to do? Hang on, I'm going to experiment with something. I want to see if this works. I want to see if this video works. Hang on. I'm still here. All right, it won't work. The file is not there. I actually have a video and I forgot to load it. So we're going to flush one more time ice. Yeah. And we're not flushing Arctic ice or Antarctic ice. We want that ice. We want that ice. Okay. All right, guys. Did I say, I got 3 super chats. You guys are wonderful. Oh, Chaz. Thank you. Okay. 1843 to 2024 was a U.S. Army officer, William Lewis Calley. Oh, I did that. You never saw my video on My Lai? Oh, my God. I have a beautiful video. I'll send you the link. Unarmed, he was convicted. 22 unarmed South Vietnamese citizens in the My Lai massacre in 1968. I don't know. Have those of you seen my video? That it's not to forget My Lai? Absolutely, we can't forget it because we're going to be doing atrocities. We're already doing them. Already, again. And thank you, Pendulous Dragon. That was very sweet of you. Hello, gals and guys and non-binary pals. Are we doomed? I'm not answering it. And thank you. Wow. Thank you. Holy shit. That's great. Next month I'll be able to get the cat litter. You know, I need to get special cat litter. I can't use the stuff I had for this cat, and I have no idea if I hope this works, because at the vet, I hope that he comes home okay. I love these little guys. I really love these little guys. Thank you, Charlie. I'll be able to hopefully take care of him the right way. Or who knows how many illegal crypto deals Trump has made, starting with his pardons, almost 100% blue collar thieves. Thieves. Yep. And the trucking industry. There's a guy I follow on YouTube who's a trucker. And I think his channel is, oh God. I don't know what's wrong with me. He is good. And I, something inside. But anyway, I'll try to find him and share him. He talks about the trucking industry all the time. Thank you. And not quite. Oh, that was earlier when we were talking about that. So, Trump, the racist, fascist clown, is the worst president possibly and the worst person in history. Yeah, along with Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller's pretty bad. You know, Marco Rubio is pretty much starting to make himself seem like one of those contenders as well. Little Marco. He just wants Cuba. Little Marco. Ah, they're all heinous and disgusting. Yes. Meow. Meow. My little kitties. I have a meow sound. I don't know where it is. All right. Yeah, this guy too. He'll be in charge of the Gaza Riviera. Oh yeah, that's it. The Enemy Within. He does a great show. I don't know why my brain is not working. I have so much on my brain. But as the brain ages, you know, this is the shit that happens. You're looking for words. Do I have to take one of those cognitive tests that Trump takes over and over and over? Yeah. Yeah, here we are. Apocalypse Now. Robert Duvall, Marlon Brando, and Martin Sheen. I'm going to put the link up to my Me Lie video. You guys, I can't believe you didn't see it. Especially you, Charlie. But, yay. I know. I'm hoping my little Siku. That's Siku, the cat I named after Arctic. It's Inuit for ice. And that was when Jennifer and I were doing the show. Yeah, he's Jesus guy. He's a trucker. I don't know about the Jesus. I think yeah, President Stephen Miller let Trump know who's really president. And he would never be elected. He's too disgusting. His affect is awful. He's creepy. He's gross. And his wife, his wife is hideous. And Katie Miller, she's a propagandist. These people are just the worst of the worst. But there's so many. You just can't even, there's just too many. Really too many. This cabinet is a joke. It really is a joke. I could go on, but we're almost we are at the half hour, 1.5 hour. So, hey, how are you? A new person. Welcome. All right. So Looney's saying before leaving, hit like, share, subscribe, and become a member. And then tomorrow night is Left Past 10. That's right. Left Past 10 is tomorrow night, and it'll be me, Andrea, and Jake. And you know what? Wait a minute. I didn't get to talk about the most important thing I wanted to talk about. Hang on. Here we go. All right. Before we go, we're going to talk about this one. I'm going to close this one. Resistance. Fatigue. It's real, okay? And it's not a failure. We really have to take care of ourselves. I just presented a show with a whole lot of information that's hard, from climate to the cabinet to Davos to wars. Just a lot of bad things happening. and signs of burnout: emotional numbness, constant anger, avoiding the news, physical exhaustion, loss of hope. Burnout doesn't mean you've stopped caring. It means you cared without enough support, which is what we want to be here at Environmental Coffee House. And why authoritarians rely on exhaustion. The crisis and chaos, it wears people down. A tired public is easier to control. A regulated one is harder to manipulate. So your nervous system is under threat. And this is so important. Stress hormones spike, focus shrinks, and empathy fades. Rest without guilt, please, everybody. Limit doom scrolling, and you can. I have to myself. Trust me, I have to. If I didn't do this, I don't think I would be doing it. Be in nature. Not easy for all of us, but try. This morning it was 3 degrees and I had no hot water. It was not the day I wanted to be out in nature. But I go outside at least once a day anyway. Connect with trusted people. All right? If you can't see somebody in the flesh, and I know this is a big a talking point on the internet about people spending too much time online and being isolated, but that is just something that we are living through. So I hope that a channel like ours is a support, and I always give you those links to the other supportive groups. But, create more and breathe. Create more is what I'm doing, and that's why I am writing things on Substack, and my writing is all different. I wrote about my cat. I'm not keeping it to the same type of thing. I'm not writing in the same genre. I'm trying out different types of writing, different voices. And, of course, I'm still working on the letter that hopefully will be done this week for the Economic Development Board here where I live about keeping data centers out. There's always something to do. But rest, it's not retreat. Rest is resistance. You don't have to hold the whole world in your nervous system for your values to matter. And I really like this, and I didn't want to forget to bring that up because I thought it was really important for us to go through this at the end, because I knew I was going to be presenting a lot of uncomfortable stuff. And the climate stuff to me is extremely uncomfortable. It's the overarching problem. We're an overshoot, and we have a sick climate. And without that, all the psychopaths and the wars and everything else, it just goes hand in hand. I love you all. And I will see you then tomorrow night on Left Past 10 o'clock, Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Not sure about Friday night. Usually I do a live, so we'll see. I want to try to have a guest. We'll see. And then Sunday. And what are you asking me about? Does Siku have a social media account? No. My little kitty. On Substack, you can read my little thing on Substack. All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let me get my video going. All right. Na, 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 na. Thank you. I love you guys so much. Ba, 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 ba. Goodbye. All right. I'll be on Looney's show. Kim.